Hi, my name is Raven. I've been in the health and wellness industry for some 30 years now, and I was very fortunate to work with a very highly skilled team of medical practitioners, dealing with every issue that we face in common society today. And over those 30 years, I observed some key issues that I think are things that really need to be addressed and people need to understand today about what's going wrong in our society. I observed over these years that life in itself is very, very simple, really. It's about five key issues. It's about food, air, water, exercise, and our mental attitude. And those three things, as long as they are in healthy balance, then of course, we don't tend to see so much disease occur as we do without them. But I want to come back to one of the major issues that I observe more than anything, which is food. And food for me has changed so much over the last 30 years. I remember as a child when my father used to take me to the allotments, being born in the mid-50s. And the families in those days had family allotments where we grew our own food in the main. It was just post-war where things weren't as freely as available as they are today. We didn't have the large stores that we have today. So we grew a lot of our own food. And I remember as a child that the food I ate then had such a strong flavour to it. You know, carrots and swede I hated because there was such a strong flavour. I actually love the flavour of them today. The problem I have today is I can't find any carrots and swede with flavour because it's no longer there. And when you look into this, you consider, well, what's changed? What's so different? Well, what is so different is very simple. You know, our bodies need fuel in order to make them run. And food is a substance of the fuel that makes our bodies do what they should do. Without the right foods on a day-to-day basis, our body starts to fall down and fall apart. You know, our body is constantly replacing itself. New cells are regenerating day after day after day after day. And they're regenerating based on the quality of what we're putting in to help our bodies function properly. So if we come and look at what I think some of the issues are and what's actually occurred in the last 30 years, I see today obesity at huge, huge levels. Britain is number 3 on a world scale now of obesity. Some years ago, it used to be America, and now it's been taken by Mexico as the number 1, the most obese nation on earth, followed by the United States. But sad to say, the United Kingdom is now the 3rd most obese nation on the planet. And that's a very sad state of affairs. But I believe it comes down to the food that we're actually eating in many, many cases. And one could say, well, yes, if people took responsibility and they didn't eat so much sugar and they didn't take so much of the fizzy drinks and chocolates that they eat, well, all of that's true. But I think the problem is far more far-reaching than that. And that comes down to significant changes over the last 30 years that have made this impact. Because we're living in pandemic problems of obesity and diabetes. I believe it's 68% of the British population are now either diabetic or pre-diabetic. And the unfortunate thing I see is a lot of that is children these days, which is very sad. And this is type 2 diabetes, which can be identified because of the food that we're actually eating. We're eating ourselves to death, basically. But I also believe food underpins many other diseases in the human body, or the lack of good food underpins many other diseases. And so looking into this a great deal further, I realized that what has changed from when I was a child to what's happening today is quite a massive, massive quantum leap. And of course, we're shopping today in the big stores that didn't exist when I was a child. And so our busy lives, our busy schedules have put us in a situation where we even shop online. We don't even go and find it now. We shop online, we click and collect, or it gets delivered to our door. We don't even see the produce before we actually buy it and put it in because we don't have time. When I walk into the stores now and I look through the aisles, I see ready-made meals all put together in packages because people are rushing to buy things, taking home these packages, putting them into microwave ovens and nuking them and then eat it. It's nutritionally bankrupt. It doesn't contain the nutrients we need. Again, if we think about the way food is being grown today, farming has had to change on a global scale because of demand. And that's all to do with profits. And what I observe happening is, you know, if I pick up the fruits and vegetables today and smell them, they don't have a smell any longer. Now, there's something wrong there. And when I dig deeper into it, I find that what's happening is our food are being grown in toxic, chemical, pesticide environments or in minerally deficient earth. They're being harvested before they've had time to ripen on the vine properly. And if our food doesn't ripen on the vine, i.e. it doesn't get that proper sunlight synthesis to have chemical changes within it at the time as it approaches ripening, then it doesn't contain the nutrients our bodies need to survive. You know that old adage, an apple a day keeps the doctor away? You know, there might be a lot of truth in that the food is such an important role in our life. So we're having this food grown in these synthetic environments. It's being harvested before it's had time to achieve what its full potential is. And then it's being shipped into our country and put into large stores. We take bananas, for instance. You know, bananas are grown in Africa, of course, and many other places. They're harvested while they're all green, and put into big ships and shipped across to whatever country they're going to, and then put into stores. And when the large and then when the large companies say, okay, I'd like the shipments of bananas for this week, a big Pantechnicon goes on to collect them. And what's happened in the meantime is the storage warehouse has taken out these big racks of bananas, put them into a steel-lined room, and then doors sealed and the room filled with gas. And 45 minutes to an hour later, the bananas have turned from dark green to bright yellow. Now, that is not a natural process. That food does not contain what it actually needs, because it needs the sunlight, it needs water, it needs its proper growth process time. And this is all to do with profits. So we're buying this food, we're eating it, and we're eating and we're eating and we're eating. We're getting fatter and fatter and fatter, but we're starving to death because our bodies are not getting the nutrients out of the food that the nutrients no longer have. So we have a problem. What can we do about it? Well, you can say, I can rely upon the governments, or I can rely upon medicine, or I can rely upon someone else to take care of my health. That's not going to happen. We have to understand that we have to take responsibility for what's going on in our lives and do something about it. And that comes about through understanding what our choices are. A lot of people say, well, I'll go and buy organic food then. And believe me, I've been part of both of these camps. So I bought the organic food, and only to find out that a lot of organic food is no better in many ways than the mass-produced food these days, because it's grown in soils that contain too many heavy metals or have a mineral deficiency in them, so the food still isn't getting what it needs in order to feed my physical body. So then we have to look for information, we have to look for knowledge, we have to know where to go, how to find what it is that we need to have and to feed our systems. And that is not the way that we're doing things today. So the intention really is to give you an opportunity to become not a part of the problem any longer, which is where we're sitting, but a part of the solution. And the way to become part of that solution is to gain more knowledge and more information and find the good avenues of where to find the right foods to feed our bodies properly. I know I've done it myself. Back in September, only just recently, I was part of the problem. It's very easy to become relaxed and fall into becoming overweight, becoming dehydrated, not having sufficient exercise, and that all starts to spiral into the negative mental attitude. But I was very fortunate to keep researching and looking for what I needed, and I found a supply of the right nutrients for me. And what actually happened in a very short space of time is I started to eat the right food, and it's not about medicines, it's food. As I started to eat the right food, the inflammation in my body disappeared very rapidly. Weight fell off me very dramatically. And hey presto, I no longer needed to use painkillers and things any longer because I didn't appear to have the symptoms any longer. Now, I'm not saying anything other than the fact that we have an opportunity to eat ourselves healthy because we've eaten ourselves ill. The world is full of mobile scooters these days for people in their ages 40s and 50s and 60s. That was unheard of when I was a child. But today, that's what's happening because people are eating themselves to death. So we have a choice and we have an option. We can do something about this. But the way to do something about this is to get the right information. If you would like more information on this, please leave your email address and your name, and then join us again for more information on what you can do to transform your life, but to transform the life of your family, your loved ones, and the people around that you care about. Become a part of the solution instead of a part of the problem. Thank you.